sidelines of the Brics summit, a claim that has been countered by India, saying that it was a pending request of China's that they were acting upon. Now, this earlier controversy had already raked up a storm with various members of the opposition raising it, and now with Rahul Gandhi going all guns blazing over the LAC issue, will this be putting BJP on the back foot? Let's find out.
लद्दाख एक स्ट्रेटेजिक जगह है, ये सरासर झूठ है। लद्दाख का हर व्यक्ति इस बात को जानता है कि लद्दाख की जमीन चाइना ने हिंदुस्तान से ली है और प्रधानमंत्री जी सच नहीं बोल रहे।
हम चीनी राष्ट्रपति के पीछे पीछे भाग रहे हैं कि हमें बात कर लो, हमसे बात कर लो, मामला सुलझा लो, और वे सुलझा नहीं रहे हैं। तो नुकसान हमारा है, क्योंकि इस वक्त चीन हमारी जमीन पे बैठा हुआ है। चीन से दो टूक बात करनी चाहिए, वरना G20 के अंदर चीन के आगे रेड कारपेट हमें नहीं बिछाना चाहिए।
आखिर क्यों प्रधानमंत्री चाइनीज प्रेसिडेंट के पीछे भाग रहे हैं बातचीत के लिए? आखिर क्यों देश के प्रधानमंत्री देश को अंधेरे में रख रहे हैं कि लद्दाख बॉर्डर पर क्या हो रहा है? नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार हमारी बहादुर फौज पर ये प्रेशर डाल रही है कि कोई सोल्यूशन को एक्सेप्ट कर लिया जाए।
राहुल गांधी जी को बार बार चीन की बातों पर इतना प्यार क्यों उमड़ आता है? ये राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन को मिले हुए दान का एहसान है, या चीन की कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी के साथ हुए करार का इकरार है कि बार बार वो भारत सरकार से तकरार करने को तैयार है?
Let me take this across to my guests on the broadcast this evening on Viewpoint. Sujata Paul of the Congress Party is with us. Also with us is Sushant Sareen, who's a senior fellow ORF. Also joining us is Colonel S. Dini, who is an army veteran. We, of course, are also waiting for a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party to be with us on the broadcast. But let me begin with you, Sujata. Considering this is an escalation of attack by Rahul Gandhi in the name of his Ladakh visit, he's constantly raising these allegations against the government at the center of the ceding of land by China, and they've come far into the Indian territory. On what basis are these claims being made, Sujata?
You heard what Rahul Gandhi said. He said that he is speaking to the people of Ladakh, and this is what they are saying, and this is absolutely true. Because if you look at the context in which this is being said, it is the Prime Minister's statement that na koi ghusa hai, na koi ghusa hua hai, na hamara post kisi ke kabze mein hai. And if you remember, when he said that, the next day, the then Defence Minister Rajnath Singh gave a statement and mentioned how clashes had happened in the Galwan Valley. However, I'd like to draw your attention to the Nyoma Block Development Council chairperson. Her name is Urgen Chodon, and she has been saying that the Chinese have been crossing across to our land and taking control of our land since May 2019, and this is proved by her Facebook post. She resides over there. She's not an ordinary person. She is a Block Development Council chairperson. We will not believe her. What she said was that the Chinese PLA soldiers had entered 6 kilometers into Indian territory, and this was a post that he shared 4 days before the clash happened, and this was a post not from that year, that is not from 2020, but 11 July 2019. She went on to give lots of examples, but I want to understand why is it that 4 days before the Air Force Day last year, on October 4, the Chief of Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary, what did he say? That our aim is to ensure that there is status quo ante that has to be achieved. And this was in response to the Chinese envoy saying that all is well and everything was okay and there was no problem. However, there is one more point I would like to understand. Why is it that there are talks happening? There are 19 rounds of 4 commander talks which have already taken place. What is that for? Is it just in air? Are we trying to say that we are just engaging with the Chinese because there is no problem on the NAC? Now, if you look at all the all the things that have been mentioned, there were 3 places that were mentioned as problem areas due to the incident of June 2020. And what are these areas? The Depsang Bulge,
Yes.
the petroling point over there, 15, and of course, Demchok. So are these being spoken of in air? What happened in Russia the same year? Why were we talking to the Chinese over there when we had the SCO meeting happening over there? The Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, this was all in the public domain. This is nothing to hide. And when people of Ladakh are saying it, Rahul Gandhi ji has been there for quite a few days now. He's meeting people. Why is it that the government wants to hide this? This is a national security issue, and this should be discussed in a special session of the parliament. Why can't the Prime Minister do that?
Okay, all right. So, Jata, we would have a member of the Bharatiya Janata Party to respond to these claims that you are making. But meanwhile, this entire point that you have raised vis-a-vis the statements that have come by way of senior stakeholders in the Ladakh area, I'd let Colonel Dinny to join us on the broadcast and just offer more perspective. Colonel Dinny, how do you read these very statements, considering Rahul Gandhi, while in Ladakh, is attributing the information that he's received from the locals over there? The Chinese have ceded into the Indian territory, something that has been kept away from the Indians by the Prime Minister himself.
Ma'am, see, we must understand that a purely national security issue has become a purely political issue.
Yes.
So unfortunately, even if I want to give a perspective, I will be branded as politically inclined towards one side or the other. The fact of the matter is that this is a issue which has not come in 2020 or 2019 or before that. It has been there for a very long time, and the basic problem is that the border is not demarcated. There is no border. There is no border either on the map or on the ground. So there will be problems. So that is the first thing which people, I think, conveniently forget. As far as the transgressions have happened, I think it has been happening throughout. It is not the first time again happening. But what is different this time, and that is what the status quo what we all are talking about, is the quantum of troops which have come from the Chinese first and then followed by us.
Yes.
There is almost 60,000 troops facing each other in the Aksai Chin area. That is the status quo, which is in a large manner which has changed. This quantum of troops have never been there. Then there were 7 friction points which were there post April 2020. The clashes which happened in Pangong, so after which there were 7 areas which had to be resolved. 5 areas that has been resolved. But there are 2 areas in Demchok and Depsang which are still not being resolved, and the reason why is that we, as the Indians, and as I understand from the from local sources or from troops on ground, is that they are, and I'm saying this because one has done that on ground.
Yes.
That we don't give away, okay, please come inside and now we'll go back. That is not the way Indian army functions. Otherwise, there is no point in the Indian army being there. The fact that 3 years on, we've continued with talks after talks means that we are, wanting to get to a negotiation with a result in our favor, in a manner in which is in bias towards our claims.
No,
not
but
to bias
Colonel
towards
Dinny, I'm
Chinese.
really sorry to interrupt you. I just want to bring in the point that member of the Congress party was making here, that why is the conversation only being initiated by India? At least that is what the claim has been made. It's attributed to what the Chinese are saying, something that's been denied by the Indian side. But this conversation after conversation, these core commander level talks that have been happening very, very rampant so, and the fact that on the sidelines of Brics summit, the 2 leaders from India and China also really engaged. However, these 2 crucial points of de-escalation that's required, especially in Depsang and Demchok, that was completely, done away with, that there was no conversation about the same. Why so? And how are we supposed to move forward if that is not being discussed?
See, ma'am, what we must understand is that the requirement for dialogue is not one-sided.
Yes.
It can never be one-sided.
Yes.
It has to be both sides. And I'll give you a technical point of view also. See, the moment we ask for a meeting, it is held in our side of Trishul, the BPM hut, which is there, the border postal meeting hut. That is where. When they ask for it, it is held on their side. Now, if you just take out the records, how many times it has been held there and how many times it has been held here, it will be very convenient, and the facts are on ground that it has been both sides. Both sides talk, and that is the mechanism. It's not happening now. It has been throughout from 90s, early 90s. That is the way it is, that whenever there is an issue, both sides reach out and they speak to each other at various level, at brigade commanders level, major general level, and now at the corps commander level. Okay. 19 rounds of corps commander level, what it has given is that there has been no violence after the June 2020 violence which happened in Galwan. Isn't that a small thing? I mean, two large armies are eyeball to eyeball, and the fact that the corps commander level generals are speaking to each other means that there is some amount of, there is a semblance of peace and tranquility. I'm not saying that there is complete thing, but at least there is a sense that the commanders are speaking, so there is an understanding that there is a line.
But I still want to get the terminology right over here, and the kind of statements that have come out time now. Sushant, I want to bring you in here. I wanted to understand that there was one statement that was released by the Chinese side. There was another supplementary statement that came in by way of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, where they claim about the historical legacy of the line of actual control and how their position has been really consistent for so many years. Why this change of stance? Why this beating around the bush? How does one read it?
I don't think it's beating about the bush. The statement that this is a historical, it's a legacy of history, is it's a pretty standard formulation of the Chinese. It's been there in statement after statement. The other statement which they are saying, and over which I think a lot of people are getting their knickers in a twist, is that India asked for the meeting. So what if India asked for the meeting? The government of India has denied it. But my point is that even if India asked for a meeting, why not? Either you are saying, and I certainly don't think Ms. Paul is suggesting that India should declare war on China. Because if war had to be declared, then it should have been declared in 2013 when intrusions took place in Demchok and you lost hundreds of square kilometers of land, according to the report given by the foreign secretary at that time, or the former foreign secretary at that time, Mr. Sham Saran. You should have then declared war. So I don't think, I certainly don't think Ms. Paul is suggesting that. But if diplomacy is one of the tools which has to be used, the government of India is using diplomacy. And at the same time, as Colonel Denny very correctly points out, even as diplomacy is being, engaged in, it's not as though the force levels from the Indian side are reducing. In fact, I do not remember when in the last 70 years we have put in those kind of troops with those kind of weapon systems, the missile systems, aircraft, helicopters, tanks, artillery, what have you. Everything has been put out there to keep the Chinese at bay. Okay, so you are moving along parallel tracks as far as the Chinese are concerned. The other thing which you have to take into account, you keep talking about 19 odd rounds of talks.
Yes.
But as Colonel Delhi himself says, there were 7 issues. 5 of those have been resolved.
Yes.
Have they been resolved the way I would have liked them to be resolved? But that's me personally speaking. Correct. Perhaps not. I do not entirely subscribe to this whole business of having buffer zones, because that means that, we can't go into territory that we claim to be our own.
Yes, yes.
And neither can the Chinese come to territory which they claim to be theirs, right? So it works both ways. But since I'm an Indian, I'm more interested in what my position is rather than what the Chinese position is. So that is one. But even so, I think there have been 5 areas in which disengagement has taken place.
Yes.
And now we have to move to the next levels of de-escalation, and that is why you need to have these talks.
Right.
But you also have brought in the issues of Demchok and of Depsang,
Yes.
which have not started only post 2019 or post 2020. Some of those issues are again legacies of history, which we are now trying to say that, look, if we are wanting to de-escalate along this entire frontier, then many of the areas in which the Chinese had come in the past, they need to pull back out there And many of the areas where we are not able to patrol because of Chinese presence, we need to be able to go and patrol out there. And that is where the negotiations are taking place.
Okay. All right. Sujata, I know you want to come in here, but we also have Aparajita Sarangi of the Bharatiya Janata Party who's with us on the broadcast. Let me get her to have a quick word before you go ahead and make your point. Aparajita, this claim that Sushant Sareen was also making, he is saying that there is no problem if at all there was an initiation of the dialogue from the Indian side, which the opposition parties are making, a lot of furor about. But the whole argument that has been presented on this entire discussion is that China looks like the nonchalant stakeholder in this entire discussion. They claim with the supplementary statement that they are not the ones who have in fact wanted this dialogue. At least that's what they are suggesting. And then they come out with a supplementary statement which reads that their statement or their entire perspective vis-a-vis the line of actual control has never really changed. And there is more to India-China relationship than just the line of actual control. Once you have these sort of statements coming in from the Chinese side, then of course the claim that Rahul Gandhi is making or the Congress or the opposition is making really gains and holds some sort of a ground. Ms. Sarangi.
A very good evening.
Good evening.
See, at first, let me tell you that as far as Rahul Gandhi is concerned, I think his entire statement smacks of immaturity and also speaks of his lack of understanding of security reasons. He is in the habit of drawing the attention of the people of the country and beyond, and that is why he keeps saying so. So I don't think we need to attach too much importance to what he says. He was in Cambridge on 2nd March 2023. And he did say that China was a very peace-loving nation and Chinese government acts like a corporation. I'm very fond of the way the government runs in China. So he has all praises for China. That side apart, let me be very clear about one thing, that as far as Prime Minister Modi's government is concerned, we are very clear about our stance as far as our relationship with China is concerned. I would like to mention here the dialogue, or rather the statement made by Prime Minister Modi during the Brics summit on 24th of August. He was very much concerned about the unresolved issues along the line of actual control. And the Prime Minister did outline that the maintenance of peace and tranquility in the border areas and observing and respecting the LAC are essential for the normalization of Indo-China relationship. And as far as our efforts are concerned, in fact, we are into dialogue and diplomacy. One, we are strengthening our force there, and we are also investing hugely in the development of the border areas with regard to roads and bridges. Okay. So, in fact, I have facts and figures with me. See, as far as the budget is concerned, please allow me about 30 seconds. Sure. As far as budget is concerned, along the line of actual control, there was a time in 2008, whatever the money that we spent, there was a 400% hike in 2022 for the construction of roads and bridges.
Okay.
And in fact, as far as the roads are concerned, let me tell you, figures are with me. Between 2008 and 2014,
Ms. Sarangi,
we constructed
we do understand the
infrastructural
development that you're talking about along Arunachal Pradesh and also in Ladakh area. I just want to quickly get in your attention to this point that the Congress also and the opposition is making, that this entire conversation around the line of actual control is just restricted to India. Of course, there were claims. You are going on to say that's a very amateurish way of presenting a point by saying that the Ladakhis know about how much of the territory of India has been ceded by the Chinese. There is no way that this can, in fact, gain any ground, and it cannot be presented factually. At least that is a statement that you are making. But why do you think Rahul Gandhi has got that kind of ammunition to speak about China ceding into the Indian territory again and again? Because of the contradictory statements, so to speak, or supplementary statements that have come in from the Chinese, which actually reek of an arrogance. That is what the opposition is also latching on. And that's why the ammunition really that the opposition is, getting.
See, there are many questions which Rahul Gandhi needs to answer before he gets into these kinds of discussions and, issuance of such statements. In 2008, there was this Beijing Yatra from their side, Sonia Gandhi ji and he, and there was an MOU signed. So what were the terms of the MOU? समझौता क्या हुआ था? That's the question that I think every one of us is asking. Rajiv Gandhi Foundation did receive lots of money, lots of contributions.
That's when Sujata comes in. Sujata, Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, the Beijing Yatra, this has been a common sort of a cause, in fact, response by the Bharatiya Janata Party when it is about talking of the Congress vis-a-vis China. There needs to be an apt response to that. So just speak about what Aparajita Sarangi is really, the allegations that have been leveled against not just the Congress party, but also the UPA regime. Where they go on to claim that much of the Chinese Indian territory has been ceded by the Chinese during the Congress era.
Griha, it's very strange that they have been in power for 9.5 years and they come up with this MOU that was signed between Rahul Gandhi on behalf of the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation with the Chinese. Can she explain what was Mr. Nitin Gadkari doing when he took his party delegation to China? Now, if I start going into history, and let me also remind you that Mr. Amit Shah, when he became the chief of the BJP, he sent a delegation of MPs and MLAs also to China. And they have been taking money, whether it is in the PM Cares Fund or whether it is the foreign minister's son who has been involved in that. And this has happened in the Chinese embassy in Delhi. So I am not going to get into that.
Okay.
I will only say that the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation balance sheet should be explored by you, and if there is something wrong, what have you been doing for the last 9.5 years? Nothing. Rich. So this is just an excuse to build a narrative which suits you and to create fake agendas. Now the point is that Colonel Dini said that there have been transgressions which have been happening for so long.
Yeah.
They haven't been happening for so long. They have been happening. They have to be stopped, Colonel. You cannot say that if they have been happening, we will let China enter India and keep moving ahead, in India. If the Ladakhi people have said that there has been a transgression, should that not be looked into? Colonel, I ask you. Now, when Mr. Sareen says that do I want India to declare war on China, what did the Prime Minister mean? Lal aankhein dikhana. So there are talks at various levels. So if there are core commander talks, there can be diplomatic talks also. And when there are diplomatic talks, you don't talk about war. You talk about a tough stand that you have to take. And let me tell you, Griha, my last point, that on August 21st, 2022, there was this occasion where the Chinese had entered our grazing lands. They had stalked our people, and then the officials had come out with a statement saying that there was no, altercation, but we were stopped from going into that land. And these are our people who have been using this area for grazing and as campsites for a very long time. Is that not true? This is in the Charting Ningyung Nala area. So please explain.
Let me actually get in Sushant Sareen to first respond to this, and then I'll get Colonel Dini also. Sushant Sareen, the fact that when it is about the diplomatic discourse, and right now whatever point that I was also making to Ms. Aparajita Sarangi, these are the claims that have been made by the opposition time and again. Why does India look to be on the back foot when it is about this diplomatic conversation with China? And why is China getting that even ground to go ahead and make the claims that it is making in this regard, whether who initiated the conversation, who did not? Why is that happening?
So I don't know where you people are getting this impression that, India is on the back foot in the talks.
Yes,
where is this coming from? In the sense that, when the Chinese themselves say, and this is the Chinese statement, and I don't believe the Chinese at all, but just for the sake of argument, let me take the Chinese statement. When the Chinese say that there was a very candid conversation which took place.
Yes.
What is the diplomacies of candid conversation? It means it was a very frank and free conversation in which both sides would have put their point. And it's certainly not anybody's case that the Chinese are, giving everything up, nor can it be anybody's case that India is giving anything up. In fact, on a range of occasions, you will see the Foreign Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, speaking very, very clearly and very, very forcefully on how the relationship can move forward between India and China. So, for example, when the Chinese say that, look, the border issue cannot be the entirety of the relationship. It's not that India is buying that. In fact, India is saying that it might not be the entirety of the relationship, but the entirety of the relationship depends crucially on having tranquility on the border. And unless and until you give us satisfaction on it, the rest of the relationship cannot be normalized.
No, but Sushant, don't you think that certain crucial terms of de-escalation, disengagement have been constantly missing from the Chinese communique, and because of which the ammunition is getting that kind of ammunition to go ahead and speak about all of this from the Chinese side and talk about why India seems to be on the back foot? Why do you think the politics is happening?
Griha, the Chinese will try and play their own games, won't they?
Yes.
Why will they want to use the terminology that we are using in their statements? They're not going to use it, right? So, and we then say that, okay, if the Chinese have not used it, that means that conversation is not happening. Is that what the case is being made out to be? And I don't think that's a fair case to make out. The second thing is that, it's partly probably our, South Asian culture that the other guy came to talk to me. I didn't go to him. Is that the way we are going to conduct diplomacy? Although from the government of India's point of view, they said that the Chinese had already put in requests in the past, and this time we accepted their request and we had a meeting.
Yes.
But here is the thing. Even if, for example, India asked for a meeting, what does it indicate? Now, this is, if the Chinese are going the Pakistan way, and behaving like, like the Punjabis behave in a conversation, that the other guy came to me, I didn't go to him. Well, you've seen what has happened to Pakistani diplomacy. Nobody goes to them anymore, right? And secondly, and more critically, if the Chinese have played this petty, too clever by half kind of a thing, that the Indians asked for a meeting to try and show us down. What do you think is going to happen when the Brics summit takes place? Do you think there's going to be any conversation? I would be a little surprised if there was going to be any conversation. Number one. Number two, what if the Indian Prime Minister decides that when all the delegations are coming, he breaks protocol and goes to receive President Biden, and, maybe a joint secretary in the government of India goes to receive Xi Jinping? I think we'll convey a very simple message to the Chinese.
Okay. But even in the Brics summit, Sushant, there has been so much of conversation about the expansion of Brics and how this is eventually going to be benefiting China and Russia, as India is really playing into the politics that the world politics that they in fact are dominating. That also is something that has been the line. This will obviously digress the debate, but let me actually get Colonel Dini to first respond to the allegations that Sujata was making, and then I'll come back to you. I only have 2 minutes on the broadcast. Yes, Colonel Dini.
Ma'am, see, what the transgressions, I think Ms. Paul need to understand is that the transgressions take place in the area where both lay claim. There are areas which fully is under our claim, and there are areas which is fully under Chinese claim. These transgressions take place in areas where both claim. That is the area which is known as area of differing perceptions. So we also make the transgressions. It is called as transgressions, it's an official term, and they also make transgressions.
Yes.
So this is what is happening. So it is not that as if, it's one-way street. That doesn't happen. Ma'am, a quick word on what the Chinese, see, that you must understand the Chinese psyche. They want to avoid a loss of face. They want to avoid a loss of face, so they will do everything possible to see that there is no victory or loss here as far as Eastern Ladakh is concerned for China.
Okay, Aparajita Sarangi, Sujata, 1 second, I have to get in Aparajita Sarangi. Aparajita, you were making that claim of Rahul Gandhi going ahead and making these statements in a very amateurish way. It should not be given any importance. Why does the BJP then have to do a separate press conference addressing the very statements that Rahul Gandhi has made?
Now see, we want to make our stand clear, and that's why we do hold press conferences, and this is a regular feature. Nothing much to do with what Rahul Gandhi says or does not say. Now let me just take you back to 2020. As far as Prime Minister Modi is concerned, he took the reins of the Prime Ministership on 26th May 2014. We really worked hard on our stance towards China. We made lots of efforts, etc., to kind of, isolate China, if I can use that word. And a think tank in 2020, a think tank of China, from Beijing, said that China is passing through its worst diplomatic isolation post Tiananmen Square. This was told by a think tank from Beijing in 2020. So to say that India is on the back foot, India does not know, does not advancing forward, I think this is absolutely far from the truth.
Okay.
We are very firm, we are very
All right, we'd
committed.
have to leave it at that. I'm unfortunately very short on time on the broadcast. I'd like to thank all my guests for joining us. Thank you so much, Ms. Sarangi. Sujata, I'm really sorry. We'd have to leave it at that. We are slipping into a very short break on Viewpoint, but up next, the Kashmir Files has backed the Nargis Dutt Award in National Integration as far as the 69th National Film Awards are concerned. Opposition is now alleging that the film spreads hatred. This is a big political showdown, and that's coming up after this very short break.
So the National Film Awards were announced, and in those announcements, one film, the Kashmir Files, and its reception of the Nargis Dutt Award for a feature film that encourages national integration. The fact that that film won the award has now caused quite a bit of controversy. Now, the director of this film, Vivek Agnihotri, has responded. He said that he dedicates this award to the plight of those who suffered during the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits. But at the same time, there have been a number of political reactions that have come in. We're going to play out all of those reactions so that you can see the kind of criticism this decision got. We'll then connect with a reporter to take a deeper dive into this story.
वो तो पिक्चर एक फिक्शन पे बनाई गई थी, तो ये तो प्रधानमंत्री खुद पिक्चरों को प्रमोट कर रहे हैं आजकल। हाँ, प्रधानमंत्री प्रमोट किए ना वो पिक्चर को प्रमोट किए, केरला की पिक्चर को प्रमोट किए। हाँ, मान लिए ना बात, प्रमोट कर रहे। प्रधानमंत्री का काम है पिक्चरों को प्रमोट करना। देख, अपने आप को प्रमोट कर रहे, 9 साल से समझ सकते हो उस बात को, मगर यह पिक्चर को ही प्रमोट करे। तो जो पिक्चर से नफरत फैल रही है, जो पिक्चर से एक समुदाय में गलत बात जा रही है, उसको आप नेशनल इंटीग्रेशन का अवार्ड दे, और वो भी एक ऐसी नरगिस दत्त जिसकी जिंदगी इस देश की डाइवर्सिटी प्लूरलिज्म के लिए वो खड़ी रही। आप उसके नाम से अगर दे रहे हैं तो फिर अब क्या बोल सकते हैं? हम तो सिर्फ अब कुछ नहीं बोल सकते, सिर्फ यही बोल सकते हैं कि अब क्या बाकी रहा? कुछ बाकी नहीं रहा। आप तो
those who in their political conception feel that the imposition or the continuation of Article 370 is a sign of integration, even though it had created a situation of 2 laws in this country. If that is their political conception, then obviously a film made like Kashmir Files has been made on the truth and reality of extremism and Islamic terrorism that drove out the Kashmiri Hindu community from their own homeland. For them, this film will be a film that is to be made fun of.
द फिल्म जो कश्मीर फाइल्स को नेशनल अवार्ड बेस्ट फिल्म का मिला है, आपका क्या रिएक्शन है?
बेसिकली ये एक ट्रेंड बना हुआ है कि जो फिल्म नेगेटिव होती है उसको अवार्ड मिलना शुरू हो जाता है। इस फिल्म में इंटीग्रेशन वाली कोई बात नहीं है। इस फिल्म के अंदर कश्मीर फाइल के अंदर जो दिखाया गया है वो हकीकत नहीं है। उसमें एक खास कम्युनिटी को बदनाम करने की कोशिश की गई है। और दूसरी चीज ये है कि कश्मीर, जब भी कोई भी फिल्म बनती है वो एक एंटरटेनमेंट होती है, इंटीग्रेशन वाली कोई बात है नहीं। और इंटीग्रेशन की अगर फिल्म बनेगी उसको कोई अवार्ड नहीं देने वाला है। इस गवर्नमेंट का माइंड सेट है, यहाँ इस वक्त जो थिंकर्स हैं उनका माइंड सेट है कि नेगेटिव चीजों को पॉजिटिव बनाओ।
It is unfortunate in this country, the political leaders are reacting on the film awards released by the government of India. Like that, the film should be seen as a film. Objections raised by our political system is unfortunate. It is against the national interest, that's what I want to say. Let this, if the film is not correct and its narrative is not correct, let the people react. Why political system?
फिल्म द कश्मीर फाइल्स को बेस्ट फिल्म अवार्ड दिया गया है, नेशनल इंटीग्रेशन अवार्ड मिला है, कैसे देखते हैं आप इसे?
देखिए, मैंने पहले भी कहा है, फिल्म एक फिल्म है, उसको फिल्म के तरीके से देखना चाहिए। अब अवार्ड मिला है, पता नहीं क्या है, उनका क्या प्रोसीजर होता है, किस तरीके से, मुझे इसके बारे में ज्यादा इल्म नहीं है। लेकिन जहां तक कश्मीर फाइल फिल्म की बात है, हमने तब भी कहा था, आज भी कह रहे हैं कि वो एक नफरत के ऊपर फिल्म वो बनाई गई है, दो फिरकों को आपस में नफरत में और बढ़ाने के लिए। लेकिन आज तो जम्मू फाइल फिल्म बनानी चाहिए। वो तो एक नफरत है, एक भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नफरत की राजनीति। मैं सीधी बात कहना चाहता हूँ कि एक नफरत की राजनीति है जिसको इस फिल्म को जिन्होंने प्रमोट किया। भाई मैं कहता हूँ जो हमारे मुद्दे हैं, फिल्म से मेरा और आपका क्या भला होगा मुझे बताइए। फिल्म में फायदा क्या भाई? आज रियल लाइफ छोड़िए, रियल लाइफ में आइए। आज रियल लाइफ के जो हमारे मसले हैं उसके ऊपर कोई एड्रेस नहीं करना चाहता। इलीगल हमें लूटा जा रहा है, हमारी बात नहीं की जा रही, बात करने वाले को जेलों में डाल रहा है, पूरा जम्मू सड़कों पर है। हम ये कहना चाहते हैं वो फिल्म, वो नाम को पहले हम मानते थे ना, आज हम मानते हैं।
निश्चित तौर से आप कश्मीर फाइल को कैसे अवार्ड दे सकते हैं जिसने पूरे देश के अंदर न सिर्फ ये कि झूठ फैलाया है, नफरत फैलाने का काम किया है। मैं बहुत अदब से प्रधानमंत्री से पूछना चाहता हूं, आपने कितने ब्राह्मण्स को 9 साल के अंदर वापस कश्मीर बसाया है? आप ब्राह्मण्स का नाम लेके सिर्फ राजनीति करते हैं और इससे ये भी पता चलता है कि कश्मीर फाइल्स के पीछे भारतीय जनता पार्टी का हाथ था।
ये जो अवार्ड है, इससे मैं हमेशा बोलता आया हूं, कश्मीर फाइल्स कभी मेरी फिल्म नहीं है, मैं तो एक मीडियम था। ये अवार्ड मैं हमारी आई एम बुद्धा प्रोडक्शन कंपनी की तरफ से उन सब विक्टिम्स को समर्पित करता हूं जो आतंकवाद के विक्टिम्स हैं, खास तौर पे कश्मीरी हिंदू। और उसके अलावा
Welcome back, you're watching Viewpoint and I'm Griha. The Kashmir Files, a film by Vivek Agnihotri, chronicled the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits from the valley during the early phase of the armed insurgency. Despite negative reviews, the film emerged as a surprise blockbuster of the year 2022. And at the 69th National Film Awards, the film has bagged the Nargis Dutt Award for Best Film on National Integration. And this very fact is the root cause of the fresh controversy that has now been associated with the film. Now, it is not just the political spectrum, but also the artist fraternity that's irked by this decision by the National Awards Committee to give weightage to the Vivek Agnihotri directorial by giving films like Paranjit's Sarpata Parambarai or Surya's Jai Bhim and Dhanush's Karnan the snub. A sentiment that was shared by Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin while criticizing the selection. On the political front, AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi has also launched a scathing attack on the central government, alleging that a movie spreading hatred against a particular community is being rewarded by the BJP-led government. And the list of dissenting voices is long. From the former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah to the Congress party, who have also criticized the central government, claiming that the movie is an attempt to poison and also embitter the country's atmosphere. It's also worth noting here that the Kashmir Files had stirred controversy last November as well, when Israeli filmmaker and International Film Festival of India jury chief Nadav Lapid had labelled it as propaganda.
वो फुटबॉल गवर्नर से मिल गई, जहाँ शेख सरस्वती ऋषि कश्यप हुए, वो कश्मीर हमारा। जहाँ पंचतंत्र लिखा गया, वो कश्मीर हमारा।
कश्मीर फाइल्स कभी मेरी फिल्म नहीं है, मैं तो एक मीडियम था। ये अवार्ड मैं हमारी आई एम बुद्धा प्रोडक्शन कंपनी की तरफ से उन सब विक्टिम्स को समर्पित करता हूं जो आतंकवाद के विक्टिम्स हैं, खास तौर पे कश्मीरी हिंदू। और उसके अलावा पूरे विश्व में जहां भी कोई भी भारतीय अगर टेररिज्म का विक्टिम है, ये फिल्म उनकी आवाज है, ये उनका दर्द है।
इंटीग्रेशन वाली कोई बात है नहीं, और इंटीग्रेशन की अगर फिल्म बनेगी उसको कोई अवार्ड नहीं देने वाला है। इस गवर्नमेंट का माइंड सेट है, यहाँ इस वक्त जो थिंकर्स हैं उनका माइंड सेट है कि नेगेटिव चीजों को पॉजिटिव बनाओ।
निश्चित तौर से आप कश्मीर फाइल को कैसे अवार्ड दे सकते हैं जिसने पूरे देश के अंदर न सिर्फ ये कि झूठ फैलाया है, नफरत फैलाने का काम किया है।
And opening this up for debate on the broadcast on Viewpoint tonight, Charu Pragya of the BJP is with us. Salim Dharanidharan of the Congress of the DMK, I beg your pardon, is with us. Also, Ahmed Ayaz, who's a political analyst, is with us. Also joining us is Mukesh Tyagi, an actor. Now, Charu, let me begin with you. The fact that with Kashmir Files, even the central government is receiving all the hate and all of this because of this fresh controversy that's now spurted with the national award that's been conferred to the film. How do you take on the claims that have been made by the opposition?
Griha, is there anybody in the world, not just in India, not just in the opposition, who can say that the Hindu exodus did not happen in Kashmir? Is there anyone who can say this genocide is not real? Is there anyone who can say that of all the 1.5 lakh precious lives lost, it's all right? So when this is the reality and this is our very recent history, why can we not tell it? And if there is a movie which talks about this history in detail, giving references to actual incidents that have happened, actual incidents, the gunning down of the Air Force officers, that's an actual incident. A judge was gunned down, actual incident. There was a terrorist which actually lined up women and children and men and put them all in a mass grave. Now, none of this are stories. This is reality of India. All of this happened, and if somebody tells that story, they have a problem. And if this story is told so well that it is awarded, they have a problem again. I have a simple question to ask them. Are you going to deny the existence of this genocide? And if this genocide is real, why should we not talk about it? And if I can draw a comparison, and I'm doing this in a very, very humble way, and I understand that there should not be any comparisons of genocides in different parts of the world. But when the Jews were put in gas chambers, do you think it was not talked about? Do you think the Germans even till today say that we don't want to listen to it because it upsets us, because we need votes from a certain section of society? Not at all. I think the opposition needs to learn some sensitivity. They need to understand that if an incident can happen, the story can be told, and they're okay with every other story being told. You can tell the story of a successful cricketer. You can tell the story of another murder. You can tell any story, any love story even that you like. Why not this story that opens up our eyes to what happened in Kashmir? All the Indians need to know about it. And this is some kind of a very late balm being put on the wounds of all the Kashmiri Pandits who lost their homes. People who've really not been able to go back even till now. They're settled in all parts of the world, and when they write their views and opinions after watching the movie, when I saw people being moved to tears after watching that movie, because they finally feel that somebody is telling their story, I think we should be applauding it and not bringing politics into every single thing.
Okay, Mr. Dharanidharan, would you like to respond to that? If the Kashmiri Pandits are getting their moment in the sun, finally their story is being told through this film, The Kashmir Files, what is the problem? And if the film is being awarded, then what is the problem? What is the hate propaganda that the opposition is talking about?
The irony is that this film has been given Nargis that award for best feature film on national integration.
Yes.
Nargis that himself directed a wonderful movie.
Herself, she was a woman, sir.
I mean, the movie itself showcased the unity of India, and it was nominated for Oscars, right? And what is this movie trying to do? This movie is trying to bring disrepute to India. It does not believe in the diversity of this country. It spreads harsh statements against a particular community, hatred against a community, and spreads bigotry on a particular community. And what has BJP been doing in the last 9 years successfully? They've been trying to divide and rule. They have been, because now they have nothing to show in terms of development. They have gone back to the usual way of dividing the country. The beauty of this country lies in its pluralism, in its embracing its diversity, the diverse languages, diverse religion, culture, etc., etc. But BJP believes in only one culture, one language, and so on and so forth. And this is exactly what the Nazis did in the 1930s and 40s. They went through the movies, and through the movies they started spreading their bigotry and started spreading hatred against one particular community which everyone knows. So this is exactly that's what's happening here, and this is appealing that such a movie has to be given this best feature film on national integration. In fact, if you look on the 43rd National Film Festival, a very leading Italian actor, director Nadav Lapid, had said this was shocking that such a movie could be shot for all the hatred the movie has been spreading against a
You want to
specific
quote in
community.
Italian, wonderful, for National Movie Awards in
And
India.
Israeli. Yeah. So
He did not deny.
Charu, I would let you respond to that. I'd let you respond to that. But let me actually bring in Ahmed Ayaz.
Just 10 seconds.
Ahmed,
Just 10 seconds.
1 second. Let me actually get in the other people on the panel. Mr. Ayaz, this
Sure.
claim that's
Okay,
been made,
sure.
this claim that has been made by most of the members of the opposition parties and also certain various filmmakers like Mr. Narendra also claimed that Nadav Lapid was very, very critical of this film, the Kashmir Files, to be even part of the Goa Film Festival, the international film festival of the country. Where is the artistic liberty question that comes in here? And the other aspect, is the film, as is being claimed by the opposition and other members, really being awarded for it being a nuanced work of filmmaking, or is it being awarded because it sort of peddles a certain agenda or it suits a political ideology, that of the Bharatiya Janata Party in this case?
You see, film is always a film and mostly not based on facts. It's only for entertainment purposes. But here, a film getting an award on national integrity, which has landed into the controversy right from beginning, having shown, the particular community as a demeaned community or troubling them, and then giving an award to a film which is controversial on these lines. I don't think that's a thing where we can call it is justified. Anybody saying so, claiming that it's on political lines or it's on any other lines, it gives that sense. Obviously, it gives that sense. See, there is nothing to say that this film, maybe somebody must have made a good role, played a good role. That of course cannot be denied. And I don't. I see the possibilities of the way things are going. Maybe the Anupam Kher or the other gentleman, Agnihotri gets Bharat Ratna, or the film gets Palki Award, Baba Saheb Palki Award. So this is how the things are going, the path we are taking. The film having gone into the controversy right from beginning with the jury of IFI and then all other communities, given the National Integration Award, it speaks itself what we are heading to what. And then replying to the the BJP's spokesperson, that to say that why don't to call it a genocide? You see, it was not very clear. Now I am here to tell you, being from the ground zero, that it was not based on genocide or to for against aimed against a particular community. It's they were in minority, they were scared of, there was no option for them. That also I can agree. But why do you forget that how many people in the Muslims got killed? Muslim leaders got killed, Sikhs got killed, other communities
so
got killed.
you are claiming just presentation of one aspect of this entire genocide. Let me actually bring in Mukesh Tyagi. That earlier point, Mukesh, that I was making, as an actor, I want to, Mr. Ayaz, I'll come to you. This earlier point I was making, that this film has been controversial, and any sort of recognition that the Kashmir Files has received also comes with a backlash that the film is sort of peddling an agenda. What do you think of the film? Winning the national award this time around is one of the most significant honors that the country can grant to a filmmaker and his body of work. What do you have to say about that? And do you think this award is for the film's critical premise, the subject that the film has in fact decided to explore upon, or is it the artwork, the filmmaking in itself?
Griha, it is absolutely an artwork. It is absolutely a cinematic liberty. It is the right of a filmmaker to make a film. It doesn't matter whether it's politically motivated or not motivated. Nobody stops any political party to make a film or come with the counter viewpoints. But you cannot stop by simply branding them. These are the political film movie. On the contrary, the national disintegration elements and the lobby, which is actually, it's like a balkanizing solidarity right from the Western journalism to Greta Thunberg, Rihanna, Palms protest, Khalistanis movement. and Kashmiris. So this is a complete comprehensive analysis of what's going on against the country. Now, if any filmmaker is exhibiting these deep-rooted malaise, I mean, as a matter of fact, against Nazis, there was a Nuremberg trial, international criminal trial against those who perpetrated atrocities against the mankind. It is equivalent to exactly the same thing what has happened in Kashmir. Atrocities are documented. It is not something which has come out of fiction. As a matter of fact, Vivek Agnihotri has only shown 10% of the atrocities because the movie cannot capsule all the events. The atrocities were manifold. So somebody is trying to whitewash this dark, the dark patch on our history. I think is certainly playing into the hands of the anti-national activities, and no wonder. And Nargis Dutt award was basically instituted during UPA regime, during the Congress regime, somewhere I think in 1965 in 13th Film Festival. So this is a completely, I think it's a very duplicity, double standard, and I think national disintegration design which these guys are. And one more point I want to say, as a matter of fact, bringing this into the controversy, they are on the contrary highlighting and exposing something which is real. So they should, if they really want to keep the memories alive, they should not raise this controversy. It's going against them. Now we are all talking about atrocities once again. So what kind of, they are achieving nothing, on the contrary.
Okay, got your point. Shahrukh Pragya, you wanted to respond to the claims that Ahmed Ayaz was making, so I'd let you go ahead and do that. But I'd also want to understand from you, the film has been given the National Award for National Integration. What it does go ahead and do is make two sections of the society, one of the majoritarian Hindus and the other of the minorities, because there are differing views. If we keep the art form of it aside, filmmakers have always been having a political leaning. So there is nothing new about it if Vivek Agnihotri comes from a certain political ideology. But to give the film an award on national integration where it's not really integrating the country, at least that's what the argument that the opposition is making, how is the BJP choosing to back that, or the central government choosing to back that?
Yeah, so, Griha, I never fall into the trap of the opposition and discuss Hindu-Muslim as it is. India is a beautiful and a secular country, and I would rather not discuss that. And very pointedly, I want to ask this. The people who are calling this movie divisive, have they even seen this movie? Because if they had seen this movie, the movie makes it very clear that it was not just Hindus that were killed in Kashmir. It was also every sane and logical thinking Muslim which was sidelined or killed in Kashmir. That's because they wanted to speak out for what is right. And this exodus happened. Let's not deny it. And if it happened, why can we not talk about it? You know, when there are chants on the streets and these chants basically say that convert, die or run away, perish or die, and there is no other option for you. This is a reality. And if a movie talks about this, I think we should applaud that, because you are bringing Kashmir and the people who were run out of their own homes in this country back into the fold of the country. I think that's why we are calling it national integration, and it's a very logical thing. And Ahmed ji was saying कि हिंदू मुस्लिम की बात करते हैं, बिल्कुल हिंदू मुस्लिम की बात नहीं करते सर, मुझे लगता नहीं है आपने पिक्चर देखी है. The movie is very categoric. If you are logical, if you are sane, if you are not talking about converting people with a knife in your hand and raping their women and then just, all the atrocities. And like Mukesh ji was just saying, when I saw the movie, I had tears falling out of my eyes every 20 minutes, because it's unimaginable. And if imagining it is doing that to us, imagine people who've lived through it. And he's absolutely right. And Vivek ji had also said this in one of his interviews. He obviously could not put all the stories together. And you know why there is a problem with the opposition, with this award going their way? It's problematic because they are the people who shared a table with Yasin Malik. They are shaking hands with Yasin Malik. The guy basically...
Would you like to respond? Would you like to respond to this claim? And also the point that, yes, Mr. Narendra, also the point that I was making earlier, filmmakers have always been political. There are certain filmmakers who have always been political, and their cinema really speaks about their political ideology. So what's so different about this particular film? In the UPA regime, there have been films like Andhi, which also is critical of the Indira Gandhi regime, the emergency that was imposed. At that time, this sort of a furor was not made by the Congress at that time, or for that matter, even the opposition backing the film. So why and what has changed now?
See, it's hilarious that such a movie has been portrayed and rewarded by the government. Why don't you promote movies like such as JB, which shows caste bias in our judiciary as well as in the police system? Why not Sarapata Parambarai, the movie that again speaks about caste system and the Tamil culture, right? In this movie, the problem is that one section of the community, that is Muslims, are portrayed as evil, treacherous, and predatory even, right? Even young boys, right, of this particular community are shown as demonic in this movie. So it wants to divide the country. India is a secular nation.
Okay.
And we want that secularity to live, not show one community.
No. So the incident happened, you don't have a problem with it.
Charu,
It shows you have a problem.
Keeps coming back in
I'm
circles.
asking this.
Charu, this claim keeps coming back in circles. I want to understand what is the need by the central government to latch on to films? Why is that happening? At least that is the claim that's been made. Whether it is Kashmir Files or Kerala Story, what is the endorsement? Why the endorsement?
Can I agree?
We have seen it in 1930s Germany.
Let her respond.
Movie is not made on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. No, our movie is not made on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Our movie is not made on Milkha Singh. Our movie is not made on Indira Gandhi. Our movie is not made on people in society we want to tell the story of. What is the problem? Is the opposition going to decide now which story could be told by the artistic community and which can't be told? And do you realize that none of them are denying the existence of all of these incidents that happened, these horrific incidents that happened? They just have a problem that the world has come to know about it. What did you want to do?
No.
You wanted to bury these stories in history forever so that you could continue with your divisive politics. Is that it? Is that what is
Mr.
bothering you?
Dharan, quick
And I'll
response.
repeat this
Quick
again.
response.
You know
It's
what?
problematic for you because you shake hands with Yasin Malik and you share a table with them. That's why you have a problem.
Let him respond.
The world is laughing at India. In fact, the Times wrote.
Are you denying the existence of these
Let him
stories?
respond, Charu, please.
So it is uncomfortable to you, so we should not show it.
Bollywood film marks India's further descent into bigotry. New York Times says Kashmir Files a new law on India. The problem with this movie is that it wants to divide
New
the
York
country.
Times, of course. The biggest rag that I have seen in the world, you have to quote that.
Charu, I'll let you have the last word. Let you have the last word. Let it be more coherent. I want to understand why do you think that the opposition and the criticism against Kashmir Files, at least globally, that you speak about it, has been so loud that a member of the international film fraternity, in this case an Israeli filmmaker, Mr. Nadav Lapid, had the audacity to come to an Indian film festival and speak about how this film is peddling agenda. We're talking about the international recognition that the film has received and also the criticism. Why do you think that kind of controversy continues to be latched on to the Kashmir Files? Why is it happening?
Yes, because Griha, it is problematic for the opposition that these stories are out. Because if the reality of what they have been doing comes out, if the reality of how they've been shaking hands with the enemy comes out, it affects their politics. As simple as that. They are still the people, remember, who invited Yasin Malik, awarded him, shook hands with him, shared a table with him. Obviously,
You
they have
already
a
said that,
problem.
but I'm asking you why internationally the film is being dissed.
No, 1 minute. I want to remind, yes, and one independent thinker from Israel said something negative, but the government of Israel jumped in to tell us that we don't agree with him. This is not where we stand. Do you remember that statement? Why is it that his statement is being quoted and not that of the government of Israel? Also, my last thing. Now, my co-panelist wants to quote like the biggest rag newspaper in the
Charu, we'll have to
world.
leave it at that. I'm really sorry. Thank you so much for making that point, and I'd like to thank all my panelists for joining us on the broadcast. Unfortunately, we're very, very short on time on Viewpoint. Up next is my colleague Shivani is joining you with Plain Speak.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. It's been more than 3 years since the India-China standoff began at the line of actual control. And while the negotiations with China continue militarily and diplomatically, the domestic politics over it also refuses to die down. On the sidelines of the Brics summit in South Africa, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had an informal meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Both leaders discussed the ongoing tension in bilateral ties and agreed to maintain peace.